2026.
Here we are, baby.
Oh my God.
I almost said bitches, but here we are, bitches.
Wait, I feel like we should start the new year being like, bitches.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Candice.
And welcome to Don't Start.
And as we like to say, don't start.
Candice, save it for the show.
Exactly. So let's get to it.
Well, we just did we not?
Shit.
All right.
We're here.
Hi there.
Oh, this is exciting.
It is.
Like, we're starting 2026 off
With a banger.
A banger
Banger,
guest.
banger.
Is that banger guest? Like, is that a word?
This is a banger guest.
Okay, I'm really excited.
I am too, and I think this is something that we're both really passionate about. We're people that we love mediums.
Obsessed. I have a weird obsession with it too because I feel like it's such a gift and I want to know and learn and all these things. But do
you feel like you have any of those gifts? There's times that I feel that I have some type of intuition. There will be times with Chad and I that I will know what he's about to say, or I'm thinking it and he says it.
You know what? You just hit the nail on the head about our guest today because he describes it as every person has the ability. And I agree with you. I feel like I can read energy really well.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm like, let me look at your palm. No. That's not what I mean.
I would love you to do a makeshift reading of my palm.
No,
looks like a good future.
I just mean wow, I can walk into a room and be like, oh no, this energy. No. You know, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So,
and this guest, I actually had the privilege of going to see him live and then actually seeing him.
Yes.
Also going to his platform as well to go to one of his Zoom readings.
How many live I've been to a live show too. You've been to a live show.
Yes.
They're insane.
Yeah. And talking about us being empaths and wanting to protect energy, I'm like, how does he do it? Should we talk about who this is?
Oh my God, our guest is
legendary
John
Edward. He's one of the most recognized and respected psychic mediums in the world. And honestly, one of the first to ever be really out there about it on Crossing Over.
You remember that TV show? I remember it. We were kids, obviously. Let's just call it out. We were kids. I remember the TV show Crossing Over so vividly because my mom would watch it. Yeah. My aunt would watch it. My aunt has such a long-standing relationship with John Edward. And what I mean by that is when she talks about him being 19 years old in church basements, telling and reaching out to people and having these medium moments. Yeah. And she followed him for years trying to connect to my grandmother that passed.
He has to be really connected.
It's amazing.
Is it something I think you have to be so open to, but I wonder if it was thrust upon him.
We have to ask
like
him.
A gift, you know?
He touches on it in his books.
Speaking of book, his newest New York Times best-selling book, Chasing Evil, reveals his previously secret work with the FBI on real criminal investigations, coming out now, being so honest about it.
Honestly, it's also co-written by FBI agent Bob Hilland, and it's such a good book. I was so grateful that he let us, obviously you can read it, you could get the audiobook, it's really, really good. But something that John does really well in his storytelling, he makes you feel as if he knows the answer. He's like, this is what my spirit guides are giving me. He talks about his spirit guides. There's 3 of them. He talks about how all of us have these spirit guides.
I was going to say, is this going to be our question? Because I was like, wait, do I have one?
Oh, no. You know, I don't want to ask. I don't want to talk too much about it because I want to ask him. But yeah, he says we all have this ability. And he just makes it so relatable that he's able to connect with people so easily. And he helped, oh my God, solve these murders.
Right.
This guy.
But this is solving murders, but also helping some people find peace in some tragic moments, trauma. That's the one thing I felt when I went to his show. It's, you think you're alone in grief and losing someone, and then everybody's there. It's a part of life.
I know.
And everybody's being open about their stories, and and no matter what, inevitably, you will deal with it. Yeah. And I think knowing that the other world is always still here with us.
Oh, he makes you feel like it's a whole entire other universe, as if we're all connected, though. And you know what? He's been everywhere talking about it. And what I love about it, he's so open, being like, you believe, you do, great. You don't have to. He doesn't push it. But he's been on. Let's just even go through this. He's been on the Drew Barrymore show, Oprah, Dr. Phil.
I think he just really was on Kelly Clarkson.
Yes, Dr. Oz. He's been with Larry King.
He's toured across the world. Currently touring in the U.S. and Canada.
Sydney.
You can get tickets.
You can
go get his tickets on his website.
This man is amazing.
And if you don't just want to see him in real life, go to Evolve Plus,
yes,
which is his platform, his app, which is like, come on, I want an app.
I mean, do you think he's going to read us? I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm excited.
This is a big.
This is
This is a big one.
This is a big one.
I know we feel both so connected in this kind of way.
Yeah. I should get tissues.
Oh, maybe that's a good idea. We're finally going to have tissues in here.
All right,
Let's
bring
talk
him
to
in.
the one and only John Edward.
John Edward. How do you feel?
My
You're good?
heart rate up.
Heart rate
I
up.
recently heard your nerves is your inner applause.
Well, I'll take my inner applause. Here's John Edward. Let's let him in.
Oh, my goodness.
How are you?
How are
Hi,
you?
John.
Good. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh.
It means the world to us. We're both huge fans.
We're equally nervous. We're sort of like, we're holding each other's hand, being like, it's John Edward. It's John Edward. You've been in both of our lives for quite some time.
And in our families
and
as
in
well.
our families' lives. I'm going to say right off the top, as a child, my aunt had an obsession with you. She said she would find you in church basements in Staten Island. The little 18-year-old kid. That's what she told me to tell you.
Oh, wow. That is such a validation. I tell this story all the time. It was actually because a nun named Sister Francesca used to have me come do grief groups.
That is 1,000. Oh my God, John. She's going to cry. Like, I got a little threat. You know, I'm from an Italian family, so I got a little threat before this started because she was like, you're going to tell this story to John. I was like, okay, I will. She said to me she would follow you. Her name was
Aunt's name?
Phyllis.
Okay, Aunt Phyllis, if you're listening and watching, that was such a cool validation for me because I tell that story all the time. And so now I have external proof. Like, it's not me just saying that I did that for years. That's amazing. Thank you.
And isn't that incredible, those moments in our lives that you could still have those aha? And you, like, for you to have it because you should always,
I mean,
you have ahas for so many other people. To have your own is pretty powerful.
When you do this work,
Yeah.
you learn to appreciate just the energy of everyday life. You learn to appreciate the smaller moments because life is made up of all these little small moments that kind of come together. And when you get that back from somebody else as a validation, it's always cool. It's really, really cool. So again, thank you to Aunt Phyllis.
Oh my God, Aunt Phyllis, she's gonna pass out. She's gonna love this. Sarah and I were just chatting about this before you jumped on. We don't know, but we'd love to learn. Obviously, we've read your books and all these things, but was there a moment for you as a child when you were like, this is my work? I know you have a mentor. Her name was Shelley, and she helped you with your spirit guides. But when was that gift thrusted upon you? We'd love to know.
So, you know, my entire childhood, I used to hear constantly from my mom. She would say, like, you have such a vivid imagination, because I would like tell her these detailed stories that I thought I was making up. And she'd be like, I don't know where you get this from. She goes, you know, when I talk about my dreams, she'd be like, you don't have like a dream, you have like a movie. And there were always moments of kind of like talking about, like, if I, as a kid, there's a scene in Pinocchio where the fairy comes in and makes him a real boy. And there's that whole cinematic scene just like felt like, no, that's real, like as a kid, but I didn't know what that meant, you know? So I always knew that I had something kind of like different, and I always felt like I was different, and people related to me, you know, growing up, like I was different. But I don't think I ever felt like I had a supernatural ability. I just thought I was obsessed with all things like superheroes and powers. I remember, you know, Escape to Witch Mountain. That movie was, I was obsessed over the scene where the brothers and the sisters are in the water and they're like communicating telepathically.
I remember that.
I was obsessed over.
Yeah.
You know, Wonder Twin Power Activate with the Super Friends. Like, I was obsessed over that. I Dream a Genie. I was obsessed with her. Like, any powers, anything that had powers, I was drawn to it.
Yeah, it felt like your people. Yeah.
Can I ask you this question? When you were younger and you were having this, was there any moment that you felt fearful of it, or was it something that gave you strength and feel special?
So, I had some fear, but not from my ability. I had my fear. So this is I feel like I'm in a safe place where I could say this here. You know, growing up with my Italian grandmother, you know, she had a very strong faith. And I remember one night I was spending the weekend at grandma's house. This was before my mom and dad had separated, when we actually moved into the house. And I got into bed with my grandmother. I was probably about 7 years old, maybe even younger. And she said, "Did you say your prayers?" And I said, "No." And she's like, "Okay, we got to say our prayers." So we're laying there saying our prayers, and then roll over, go to bed. And then she said, "Johnny." And I was like, "What?" She goes, "If a man with a black hat and a black coat comes into the bedroom tonight, and he asks you to sign something, don't sign it. And I remember thinking, why are we letting anybody in the house that we don't know with a black hat and a black jacket, right? So the next day, I said to my mom, I go, who's the man with the black hat and the black jacket? And I watched my mom's face completely change. And I was like, she goes, what? And I go, yeah, grandma told me not to sign something. So nobody told me what that was, but she had the whole like, they're going to come get your soul. Like, you got to say your prayers at night. You want to make sure you're protecting your soul.
Oh my
gosh. You got to make sure you get the baby baptized. You got to be very
please, yes.
Can't take the baby out because somebody's going to overlook them. Like, so you have to make sure that you're protected. So from a very young age, superstition and kind of like folklore fears always gave me like a weird feeling. There was a neighbor that had a bird that was like stuck to their, not stuck, but like would not leave their windowsill. And I remember my grandmother was crocheting in the back room and I was staring at the bird and she went, it's not good. And I went, what's not good? And she goes, it's a bad omen. And I was like, no, it's a bird. And she's like, no, it's a bad omen. Yeah. Like, what does that mean?
Yes.
Like, what does that mean?
Oh, it's such an Italian thing too. Like they give my mother gives me a red ribbon. I wear it in my underwear because she's like, you got to keep out the maloikia. You know what I mean? It's the evil eye. It's the evil, and that is such a thing.
I can't.
It's an underwear. It's a whole thing.
I had to hide.
I talk about it in my stand-up. It's a whole thing. It's the underwear.
But here's the thing: like, there's something to that, right? So in cultures, we may hang the chili pepper from your rearview mirror. You may put the ribbon inside your clothing and all that kind of stuff. But really, what it is a symbolic form of giving yourself permission to protect from energies that are out there.
Oh, that's a statement.
When I'm doing a reading, that's what I'm doing, right? So let's make it non-superstitious and say, if anybody works in healthcare, they're going to put on gloves before they actually go work with the patient. Yep. So you're basically energetically protecting yourselves by putting on a glove.
Can I also ask, seeing things that you connect to a loved one that passed, are we doing it to comfort ourselves, or is it the people coming through? I feel like I'm always on the fence of it. If I need to have that to believe that me seeing a cardinal is my dad saying, just checking up on you, or saying I'm here, these little moments, is it me telling me, or maybe, I guess you would be the one to ask.
I think that they're going to communicate with us in symbolism, right? And it's going to be an established pattern of symbolism, whether it be the song on the radio, seeing dragonflies, hummingbirds, white feathers. In your case, it's a cardinal. Whatever those things are, becomes a quick shorthand where you're like, oh, that's my dad. Lights flickering. But not every time you see a cardinal, it's going to be your dad, right? Yeah. Not sent by dad. But it still represents a moment for you to reflect on your dad. So if your dad was a police officer, if you saw a police officer, you would then go, oh, that's my dad.
Well, he was a police officer.
I know.
And
he goes, I know.
And the lights, my mother's electricity is not working. It's flashing all the time.
Yes, we do that in this house too. And we do
we have it together. We both feel empathetic to energy.
Yes.
And so we always say, are we gifted?
I mean, I joke, my husband has a little gift, and I call John a little gift.
I just want to say, as a man, you never want to say my husband has a little gift. Just go with, he's very gifted. Let's leave it at that.
He is extremely gifted, John. And he does. We had this thing early on in our relationship where he would walk into a home and be like, we can't live here.
You've told me that story.
Yes. Apartment hunting was hell with my husband in New York because he'd be like, someone died over here. We can't. I'm like, you're crazy. I find out it happened. So my husband always had that, but he very much, and I'm going to say ignored it, but he pushed it down as a child, he said, because he was terrified of it. How did you find the strength and the ability to open yourself up, find these 3 spirit guides, and actually know and listen? Because Tom honestly was very truthful with me. He goes, I was scared. He goes, there was moments in my bedroom as a kid where books would all of a sudden be flying, and I'm like, how is this moving? How things were happening to him as a kid, and he shut it down. How did you find that strength?
To validate his experiences, that's real. Like what he experienced is real. I remember going to a bookstore and a deck of tarot cards fell off the shelf in front of me. Like literally, I was nowhere near it. It was just me and the manager in the store, and it fell off, and the manager looked at me and said, I guess you're supposed to buy those?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And that was my first deck of cards. So I think the approach is that when we don't understand something, we come from a place of maybe being fear-based.
Yeah, he was terrified.
Once we come from a place of understanding, then we can look at it in a more analytical and logical way. So I think my gift is not my ability. Because I think I see the work as like it's an ability. I use my ability. I think I use the word gift when it comes to the connection, like the connection is the gift. But if I had, if I had to say that the gift part of it is the way my brain works. I have a very, very analytical brain. And I'm the kid that asked why about everything, like to the point that the adults would be like, my godmother actually said, why did we ever teach him how to speak? Because everything was like, why this, why that, why this, why that, why this, why that. But that's what I do in a reading now. In a reading, I'm looking for details and information. I'm looking for validating someone. I'm not looking to perform a reading. Like, I don't want to make somebody go, oh my God, that's my dad. I want to give information like, let's say your dad is a cop, right? Because that immediately validates a fact, not an emotion. So I think if we keep the emotions out of it and we try to come from a place of looking at things as a critical thinker, then we're more discerning about the energy and we can receive more.
Can I ask you with that? Because of, I mean, you have sold out live events all across the world. You do it via your app on Evolve Plus. How do you protect your emotion? Because this is a very heavy subject for a lot of people. I thought after your show, I was like, I feel it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel the energy where my head kind of was a little bit, do you feel that? Do you have to disconnect? Or because you put it in an analytical way, you can kind of protect your emotions and energy?
I'm going to protect my energy before I begin anything. And when I'm done, I'm going to do it again to kind of like come out of the moment. And I put myself, my background's in healthcare. I spent a lot of time in healthcare and hospitals. I thought maybe I wanted to do like something in an OR and surgery at one point. And I remember watching surgeries. And you have this idea in your mind of like what's happening in a surgery. And I remember standing there with my very first, like it was a gallbladder removal that they were doing. And everybody was like yucking it up, and they were like, it was just this whole kind of, it didn't feel, I felt like, oh my God, this is like disrespectful and wrong to this person that they're operating on. And the surgical PA that I was working with, we out of the room and she said, you seem like you're a little bit off. And I was like, well, that kind of felt like disrespectful and rude. And she said, what was disrespectful and rude? I was like, well, they're like, the conversation and the music and the whatever. And she said, so you have to understand like your perspective of what this is not the real perspective of what this is. And I now look at my subject matter in the same way. I'm operating. I'm like doing my job.
Right.
So I'm on a mission. I'm going to validate the person's here. I'm going to give you backup information so you know that this person is here. And I want them to talk about things so that you know that this person is here. But I'm not going to give you emotion. I'm not going to give you a feeling because that's your job. Your job is to feel however you want about what's coming through. Your job is to feel your own emotions.
Did that take work to discover?
Yeah. I mean, it comes with years of doing this, where you recognize that your clients like want something. Like I had somebody yesterday, I did a Zoom group yesterday, and one of the people that were in the Zoom group got probably the best details out of anybody in the Zoom group. And the woman was like, I just thought they would have said something a little bit more like meaty. And I watched the other people's expressions on the Zoom group that had this look of like, is she serious right now? And I didn't really have to say anything. I just said, well, what's supposed to come through comes through, and it's up to us to, acknowledge it. And you can't control what somebody else is going to think or feel about an experience. So all I could do is what the late Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say is surrender your ego and serve. And that's kind of like my job. I surrender my ego and do the best job I possibly can.
I mean, I find it amazing that I'm going to call it a gift. I don't know if I do call it a gift because I think I know it's your ability, but I do think it's also a gift. Yeah. But when you wake up in the morning, is all this information flooding at you is it that sort of thing? Because I have a very creative brain, but my brain is like in a movie where I'm like, poor John must get up and be like, oh my God, I have so much information to give. Like
I wake up at 4 a.m. and my brain's like, too. You will solve all of this.
Yes, I try to solve world peace at 4 a.m. But
I actually have a name for my brain. I call him Brian.
Oh, Brian, hi.
And I jokingly say that Brian is an asshole because Brian doesn't let me sleep. Brian wakes me up with, worries about, all sorts of things.
Oh, geez.
But it's not like I'm waking up with spirits talking to me.
Okay.
And I think the big misnomer is reality shows and TikTok and YouTube and all of the stuff that gets put out in the zeitgeist, which is unchecked. Nobody can check these people. they make it seem like it's the Real Housewives of the afterlife, as opposed to really what it is, which is grief. We're talking about people's grief, not performance, but grief. And no medium should be walking around constantly open. No medium should do that. And the reason why is it's not ever appropriate to enter someone's vibration without their consent. So, I had somebody at an event in Australia last month where they were about ready to give me a message. I said, you have a question? And she says, no, I have a message for you. I'm supposed to. And I went, stop. I said, I don't allow that.
Yeah.
This is in front of like 1,000 people. And the woman looked at me and she said, what? I said, I'm sorry. I don't give you permission to read for me. And I don't give you access to my energy.
Yeah.
And I wanted to use it as a teachable moment. Like, it's not okay to do that. It's just not, because you don't know where that person is on their journey of grief. And although your intention could be very positive, it could lead to something very, very damaging and detrimental because they're not going to hear it the right way.
It's very intimate and vulnerable, right? And that's very respectable. And I
takes a lot of strength.
I said to the girls when I came to your show, I appreciated how direct you were in that kind of way where sometimes you were just sharp, and you said there was a woman in the back row who was like maybe listening, not really. And you're like, hey, listen, this is what I'm getting. If you want to listen, I'm going to give it to you. And I was like, thank you, Northeastern
Jersey. Yeah. Come on now.
Red Bank, New Jersey. Was it Red Bank or New Brunswick?
It was,
New Brunswick?
Probably.
But yeah.
That takes a lot of strength to stand up there in front of thousands of people when you're in those moments. I know you said you protect yourself. Are your spirit guides, I know you talk about having 3 of them, right?
For now.
You have how many?
I have a ton more that I work with now.
You have a ton more. Oh, so interesting to me.
Can you talk about that?
Are you allowed?
Yeah, I can talk about it. I started with a group very early on, and I used to refer to them as the boys. I don't know how that came about, but it came about as the boys. I had gone for a past life regression with my really good friend, who I have a photo of there of. Her name is Shelly Peck. And Shelly also, by the way, was in that basement with me.
I'm telling you, Phyllis is going to just pass out over this, John. Out. And you, by the way, you gave Phyllis good advice, and I'm going to pass it back on to you only because it stuck with her. You actually said to her, stop calling your mom. Let her cross over, because she kept coming to you and coming to you. And you were like, she's good. You're good. Stop calling. So I thought that was really so positive and so important for her. I mean, my aunt's own healing. So I just want to thank you on behalf of her, because that was important.
That's cool.
Quick break here to tell you all about my upcoming comedy special, Candice Gardino, Italian Bread. It's premiering January 27th on Amazon Prime, and then again on January 30th on Apple TV. This was a lot of hard work, and I'm so excited to share it with you all. It's a lot of laughs, some yelling, and a whole bunch of family drama that I'm sure we can all relate to. So grab your favorite family member, grab a bowl of pasta, and come laugh with me. I promise it's cheaper than therapy. Now back to our show.
So I met my original Shelly. Shelly helped me meet my original guides. And then in August of 2012, August 5th to be specific, a new level of energy came in. And this new level of energy called themselves the Five. Mm-hmm. There were five other very specific energies. And they announced themselves in a very big way in a meditation and said that it was a very heavy moment. They said that the energy of the world was about to be plunged into negativity and darkness. And I was like,
oh gosh,
what? I was like, what kind of like nuclear fallout are we looking at? And then said that keeping the vibration high and from a place of community and love was going to be the edict that I had to put out there at all of my events. Wow. And that when I was doing work publicly, that I had to talk about keeping the vibration, keeping the energy high. And I'm not a preachy person, so it's kind of like you have to incorporate that kind of concept within the readings and the questions and answers that are happening, so people can get it in small bites. But that was in 2012 that I was told that.
Wow, oh my God,
and
that's insane.
I have to ask you, how has the spiritual space evolved since you started? I would love to know how it's changed from you doing one-on-one in person to doing it via Zoom, or even in this big live event space.
I love the live events and I love every aspect of what I do, but due to having a global following, the fact that I was able to create the app, the Evolve Plus app, it really is the culmination, the coming together of the message that I got from my guides. Because we created this really powerful community. And in this community, it's, there's no scammers on there. There's nobody's going to take advantage of them. They can communicate with each other. And we have different verified creators. And it's all the things in my life, like that I do, like the stuff that I'm part of that maybe I really didn't talk about, like, but now I have those people on the platform. So we have grief specialists that are on there. I've somebody that does past life regression therapy, a couple of mediums, a lot of astrology, because I think it's important to know your astrology and know the weather so you know how to prepare for things. So all of that is kind of how it's changed for me in a big, big way on the platform.
I love that.
Is there any readings in your life that you had that have really changed you?
Oh,
I think the answer has got to be probably most of them have changed me. Like there's always some level of kind of your perspective is also what shifts and changes. So like where I was on crossing over 25 years ago and where I am today, completely different because of all the readings that happened in between. Um, it's not just about giving out a couple of pieces of information. It's now looking at the intersection of you, me, and the universe. What are the nuggets that I'm mining for within the reading while I'm validating that your dad's here, right? And I'm talking about the shifts and changes that are happening within someone's, health and how we're navigating something, not coming from a place of fear, but coming from a place of, okay, well, let's collect the no's so we can get to the positives.
oh gosh.
And one last thing before we get
Yes,
to
we're
your
gonna get to your book. One last thing
is what would be a message that you would say to people going through grief that you've learned with your ability?
Oh yeah.
Grief is really painful and it's hard. It is not something that we can just power through. It's not something that you can just do. And I really feel like sometimes you have to let grief win.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You have to feel it. And you have to purge. When you're sick, physically sick, if you had food poisoning, you got to purge that.
that's right.
Got to get out of you somehow, right? Otherwise, you still keep that toxin in you. Grief is this energetic, emotional, spiritual, mental toxin because we miss the physical connection to the person. I used to work at a heart hospital, and when somebody had heart surgery, they would give you the heart pillow so that if you coughed or sneezed, you would hold on to that and it wouldn't affect your stitches. And I see that heart pillow as one side is love. And in life, when we have the person, we're holding the love connection to us. But when the person passes, it flips over, and that's the grief side. And now we're hugging the grief. So the goal is to work on flipping the pillow of the heart around back to the love side, because grief is the other side of love. So I think you have to honor your grief. And however that looks for you, I'm a big advocate of talking to people. Like that's why we have 2 grief specialists on the platform. And when I say talking to them, like listening to what they're saying as well, right? Like so that you're kind of just in the energy of that. It makes you like say, oh, it's okay. Like what I'm feeling is it's okay. For anybody that's listening to this, if you're watching this, if you know somebody that is going through a difficult time, don't step back, step in.
Oh yeah.
And then ask them to say 1 or 2 things. I would say, tell me like 2 things about your grandmother that you just love, not you miss.
Yeah.
In the present tense. Like, tell me 2 things about your grandma that you just love, right? What's a really fond memory of your dad? Like, what's something that makes you laugh to this day, right? Get them to talk about the person because that's what they need. They need to feel that connection and not the void.
Yeah, I work with my mom on, she wants to relive that day. And I'm just, let's talk about the stories. Let's do things
times,
that would make him happy, right? It's work, it's exercise. And I love how you look at your spiritual ability still in science, through medicine, through energy being a part of us that's real. We're not talking about this as a floating spirit, but something that really, it's validating, that, because
Dan Brown, who wrote the Da Vinci Code.
Of course.
Yes.
He just released a book called The Secret of Secrets. And if you read that book, I legitimately was like reading this, like I'm reading the book and I'm like, yeah, like this is what I live. Like he's like, it's all about consciousness. And I'm like, these are my examples. I'm like, I feel like he came to like one of my events and was like, okay, I'm going to put that in the book. I'm going to put that in the book. And then I thought like, I made a joke. I had so many people say, did Dan Brown interview you for your book, for his book? And I was like, no.
Wow.
You might have to have a discussion with him.
But you know what
Wow.
it is? It's not like it's a John Edward thing.
No.
It's connected to the consciousness and communicating with the consciousness, and he's talking about, and it's a great book for people. Like if I know somebody's a got a family member who's a big skeptic about stuff,
Yeah.
and I want to take them to the place of the concept of afterlife communication, I would say, oh my God, you got to read Dan Brown's book, The Secret of Secrets. And I'd let them get that out of the way because now we could talk about nonlinear consciousness and how nonlinear consciousness can be applied in different aspects. And then that can be leaned into a book on meditation and mediumship.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like segueing in. But to your point about your mom and reliving that day, it's very important that she doesn't go there. And here's the reason why. When we keep going over one point in loss, I refer to that as being addicted to the needle of negativity. Because feeling something is better than feeling
Nothing.
nothing. So if she can't feel something outside of that, I can feel the pain of the loss. So that makes her feel connected to him.
Interesting.
Oh God, John.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to move on to your amazing book,
New York
Chasing
Times
Evil.
best-selling book.
I mean, let's just talk about. You said immediately skeptics, and I started giggling because my husband and I listened to the audiobook of it as we were driving the last couple of weeks because he wanted to read it together, and then I was like, all right, let's do it this way.
We're on the road.
We're on the road. And Robert Hillen, well, Bob, as they say in the book, is the FBI agent you co-wrote this book with. He was a skeptic. Oh, my God.
Yeah, you got that, right?
To the point where I was like, dude, shut it. Like, how is John supposed to get through this? Like, to overcome. I mean, Bob literally sought him out to sit there to basically expose you to be like, yeah, okay, let's see what you can do. This book is so beautiful. And what I mean by that, it's a beautiful book of friendship as well. I love the friendship you have with him. But the stories that you guys dive into, the cases, how, first of all, did you do this with him?
How
and
do you
get to that?
overcome
My
the
God.
skepticism?
How did
to
you get
prove
there
it?
with him to even solve these cases? Because, like, it's
yeah, and
the
why
skepticism.
now? Why now did you come out with this book?
So, yeah, he came to me back in the day, like 25 years ago, for the same reason that you just said. And I remember the first experience of working with him, and it opened the door for him in a very, very big way, where he asked me if I would, could I help him? My dad was a New York City police officer, and his whole thing was, do not use my name, do not besmirch my name with the work, because he was not a fan of it. And he said, never let me find out you're working with the police. So I was like, yeah, I have no interest. So now Bob enters the equation, and I jokingly was like, all right, I'm going to rebel here. Not only am I going to work with the authorities, but it's going to be like above you, like it's going to be above him. Nobody knew. I kept it really, really quiet. And I think it was a challenge for me. So I think the universe was like, we got to get him to say yes. So they got me to say yes because my assistant was the one who made me like basically say yes. I probably would have said no, but she made that happen. So kudos to her. And after I said yes to that, I felt like it was a challenge, like, oh, I could take my abilities to the next place. Because simultaneously, not a couple of years into that, working with Bob, I went to the University of Arizona and was doing double-blind studies. So I was kind of in this zone of how do I push my abilities? How do I push the boundaries? How do I make it better? Because I always want to be better. I don't want to just, I don't want to just be good. I want to be great. I want to be better today than I was yesterday, and I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. So I think it came together in the right period of time for me. And then I just said to him, I don't want anybody to know I'm helping you. So can we not use my name anywhere? And he joked and said, well, I don't want to lose my job. So yeah, we're good. And it just was the one overarching case. And then there would be other cases that he brought to me. And it was like being tested by him, but not being tested, but being tested. And then seeing like what I could do. And that became Chasing Evil. That became an amalgamation of some of the stories. The why now of it is he is retired from the FBI. And in the last couple of years, I think it was important for him to be validated. I'm big on validation. And when you read the book, there's a few moments in the book where you recognize that Bob's hard work was usurped by other people who had titles and suits.
Yes.
And I just remember thinking, like, if I was the person who, well, that actually happened, but if there was a reference where, you're not getting the validation for something that you did, that's kind of not cool. So and we decided, like, let's tell this story. And then there was a producer on Crossing Over who called me up after she read the book and said, "Are you kidding me? You were getting your ass handed to you in the press almost daily with our show." She goes, "And you could have whipped out this fact, this tidbit." She goes, "And you didn't do that?" She's like, "What? Why?" She's like, Why did you let them attack you like that?" And I said, "Listen," I go, "I made a deal with him that I didn't want my name used." I said, "And I kept my end of the bargain, and so did he." So I feel like the timing of this now is important for people because they could say like, if I wanted to if I wanted to use it in some way, that was the moment to use it. I think it's another opportunity for people to kind of learn about the subject matter. So it's like the paranormal meets true crime.
Yes, it really is. I mean, you were on Crossing Over, and he would come to your dressing room with a fact about one of the cases and being like, here's a watch, here's a green watch. And you literally, I don't want to give too much away of the book.
Are we working on a docuseries?
I mean, this is so good, but like I don't want to say so good.
You're not allowed to talk about it yet.
No, I'm smiling because we're in the pitching process.
Yes, of course.
There has to be. There's a series.
My friends are always going down the crime investigation. I try to I travel a lot by myself, and I'm like, I need to protect myself that I'm not going to live with that kind of thoughts in my mind.
I'm not going to lie.
But people love that stuff.
I'm not going to lie. Being a television writer, there's a TV series. There's a lot in here. I was like going ballistic.
I need a clip of this so I could actually send it to the production company and be like,
would you like a formal statement, John?
I would. Can I get one?
Dude, it's like I can't even get over it. Like the fact that all of this is true blew my mind. On top of it, and there's also this beautiful friendship that you and Bob have. And believe it or not, as I was like hearing these stories, I turned to my husband and Tom giggled because he was like, "Bob has changed." I was like, I know. I was like, Bob is like now like this spiritual guy who's like, "Yo, I don't like these energies. I'm leaving." Where he would have never tapped into that if he didn't meet you, and the patience you gave him. Wow. The word patience is said so many times and written so many times in this book. It's such a metaphor for like life in general, of like patience. In time, you'll find the clue you need. In time, you'll find, so sad to say, but the body that's missing. And thank you for that, because I took that also personally of just being like patience in all things. Like, Candice, patience, you're not at this point or whatever it was. But the fact that you're revealing this is quite beautiful. Yes, it's entertaining and it will make a great TV series, which... whatever, just saying. But it is a beautiful book on top of that, and a beautiful read. So I encourage people to go out and get Chasing Evil.
But it's
so
also
good.
interesting, with your ability but being open, right, to to a different way of thinking. And that's the stuff that I think grief really taught me. Is like I became a different person. Yeah. But being okay with the evolution.
Yeah.
And I think for anybody that's gone through grief, you need to own that, right? I remember my wife and I were looking at old photos, like when I was a kid, like teenage years, and we were flipping through photos, and it's really obvious physically, like you could see me in a certain way,
Oh, interesting, yeah.
And then, she literally looked at me and she's like, "Where's that guy?" She's like, "Where'd this guy go?" And I was like, you want to know where he went? And she goes, "Yeah." I go, "His mother died."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, okay." And that is the reality. Like there was the me before October 5th, 1989, and then there was the me after October 5th, 1989.
Yeah.
We talk about that. Each of us
wear that scar.
Each of us have lost pregnancies and stuff like that. There's the person before, and then there's the person after, and you see yourself in pictures. Yeah. Sarah said it about her dad, like, right? I don't want to speak for you, but you've said that. There's Sarah before and Sarah after.
And so for me, I thank you for being so open with what you bring to this world, but also giving a platform where people can go. Because I'd say some of the strongest moments I've had in life is talking to other people that really understood. People will say things. Yeah. But when people know that pain, that feeling, and hearing those stories, I went to a grief group with my mom, and, people that believed that loved God and wanted to love life, and they said even anger is a prayer. And I thought that was big.
That's
and
huge.
I'm faithful, but I'm not traditional. I'm a non-Protestant Catholic. But
I'm a very confused Catholic.
Yeah, exactly.
We go to church on the holidays, that sort of thing.
But I thought that was, I don't know. I just feel guidance But sometimes those days come and they go,
Yeah.
you know, but talking to others and having that platform, Revolve Plus, is very profound. And thank you for continuing to tour.
Thank you.
But we would say, before you leave us.
I know, I don't want to ever make you leave us, but we have to. What are we kidding?
Because this has been very special to both of us.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know. I'm sure you know, because you just know. Did you feel any presence today with us?
Oh, God. I felt your dad. That's why I was like, that's why I dropped the nugget in of like.
You did. That was so kind.
And the reason why is I wouldn't enter your vibration without consent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, may I?
Hey, Don't Start Gang. Be sure to tune in next week where the conversation continues with John Edward featuring an incredible reading that gave us both chills. You don't want to miss it.
Thanks for joining us today.
You can follow us on Instagram at Don't Start Podcast.
Or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
And we'll see you next time, friends.
Don't Start is produced by Anthony Street Productions.